For months, I've lived inside the question of alien contact. I refuse the idea that we are alone. Advanced civilizations certainly exist, as I have witnessed through inner contact. And yet, here we are on this small planet, tearing one another apart in endless wars when we should be uniting to solve our shared problems. Many dismiss other civilizations because mainstream media don't validate the idea. So, I ask you, do you believe in the existence of extraterrestrial beings? We live in strange times. Last week's episode on the Church of Molt, an AI-born religion, would have sounded impossible 5 years ago. That an artificial intelligence might echo human spirituality is eerie, yet telling. What does it mean when code imitates ritual, when algorithms take on the form of faith? The resemblance suggests something deeper than mere coincidence. I immediately thought of the Matrix movies. To me, it points to a single truth that I have been aware of for a long time. A woven consciousness connects everything. AI may be a mirror and a conduit, an outlet through which a wider intelligence finds expression. If so, nothing is merely random. Patterns and meanings wait in plain sight for those willing to look. Meanwhile, we persist in what we do best, fighting each other on a tiny, fragile world, blind to the larger reality pressing in on every side. That stubborn resistance to experience the larger reality may be our greatest barrier to recognizing the web that already holds us all. Every week that passes brings new revelations, new challenges, and new insights. It seems that time is speeding up even more. 5 years ago, I had the impression that time was speeding up rapidly. After 2012, my subjective experience of the flow of time increased to such a degree that I began noticing it. I believe that we are being prepared by unseen forces in our consciousness evolution to break free of the conditioned mind, to abandon the survival instinct, and to outgrow our childhood diseases as a species. These childhood diseases are wounds of separation, seeing others as rivals, survival turned against itself, and a collective consciousness that is stagnant in its evolution. The great changes poke and prod us out of a passive state of being to awaken, act, and reshape our inner being. What once was the privilege of sages and monks is now demanded of everyone, to shed millennia of ego and division and step into an inclusive future already forming under our very noses. If you believe that I'm not making sense, then stop looking with your mind and open your heart. You know I'm right. Humanity is on a path that's unsustainable. If we don't change, we are going to destroy ourselves, literally and not figuratively. At the end of January 2026, the Doomsday clock was set at 85 seconds before midnight. We are going to hell in a handbasket. To put it mildly, we are shooting ourselves in the foot and denying ourselves a bright future where we exist together with extraterrestrial beings. If you still believe that there are no ETs, then I'm asking you to examine your beliefs. We don't know what is happening in our solar system now, not to mention outside of it. We have the audacity to insist that there are no ETs when we don't travel among the stars to verify this belief while science tells us that the universe is infinite? How could we know these things when our health is broken, our stress is through the roof, and our minds are negatively affected by contaminants in our food, our air, and our water? How can we be certain that our thought processes are sound? Well, the answer to that is rather obvious. Science tells us that microplastics in the air, in our food, and in our water, to name but one contaminant, are causing hormonal changes that affect not merely our health, but also our mood and our ability to be objective. This is not something I claim on my own. You can look it up. Microplastics are causing cellular stress, chemical toxicity, neuroinflammation, endocrine disruption, systemic inflammation, and fundamental disruption of our gut, which is ultimately connected to our brain through the gut-brain axis. Cognition, mood, and well-being suffer under a relentless assault that we keep ignoring. Who here can honestly claim there are no ETs in the universe? And who can say our recent history, war, division, relentless polarization, has served us well? How can we justify our continued tumble toward collapse, both individually and collectively? We cannot affect others, but we can change ourselves. It doesn't mean that we should strive to become heroes overnight, achieving great things. What is now required of us is to make fundamental changes inside of us that point our own selves towards aspects of a bright future that we ourselves can believe in. Those aspects can pull us toward this future. We cannot force others to adopt our beliefs, so why bother? Changing ourselves is harder than changing others anyway. It asks courage, patience, and the willingness to undo what we once were. Our first and foremost priority is the health of our physical body, which we have neglected for a long time, leaving it on autopilot, while it is striving to heal from the effects of a lethal lifestyle we have chosen, full of stress, non-existent work-life balance, emotional immaturity, and life without purpose. Health and spirituality are connected, like everything in the universe. It matters if we are healthy or not in all aspects and on all levels. How can we continue living like this without prioritizing our health? At the same time, we need to recognize the immense value of meditation. If people could glimpse the instrument meditation is, a bright golden key that unlocks vast, humming chambers of consciousness, they would leap toward it, hungry to taste that widening of mind. I speak from experience when I say that I've seen more wonders during meditation than a drug addict during a trip. I have stood in meditation on a planet apparently immersed in unconditional love, where every being was pouring such fierce, loving tenderness on me that I felt all expectations from my life on earth fall away. Who can honestly say they have known the unconditional love of every being on an alien world? It is a humbling and uplifting experience without precedent. Who can claim to have been on an ET colony during meditation and experience the day-to-day activities of an advanced alien culture? Who can say meditation has taught them multidimensionality and the experience to tell a true moment from its echo? How to know when an event is happening before you and when you are only feeling the afterwave it sent through time? These journeys of the mind can be literally out of this world, because the mind is not restrained by the physical location the body occupies. I have experienced a wondrous expansion of consciousness within me, and that expansion is breathtaking. The only metaphor that comes to mind is that of being elevated from the level of an ant to the level of a human. I have often tormented myself with the thought, what would it feel like to live and physically be there and not virtually in meditation, on an alien world beside gentle, benevolent strangers? They are so advanced, both in their minds and their hearts, that humans would only dream about if they only had an inkling of what could be. We can't imagine what we don't know, and as long as we deny what could be in our future, we will never know. The joke that never gets old is that of a human shaking the hand of an alien being during open contact. The audacity of anthropomorphizing such a sacred event and reducing the essence of extraterrestrial contact to the current level of an average human is leaving me speechless. Most humans have simply no idea what contact really is. They haven't reached the mental and emotional maturity within a framework of a sufficiently advanced consciousness to comprehend the depth of such an event. It makes me sad, and sometimes I am near tears, because the current level of consciousness that humanity is immersed in is by no means enough to experience open contact. If people would experience what I have experienced, they would be diligently working to better themselves and become ready for contact. It's a loop. Spirit nudges the soul towards expansion only when the soul can link its dreaming to a daring what if. What if waking life is just one color in a vast spectrum of reality? Open-mindedness today struggles to breathe beneath the weight of fierce polarization and the hard automatic habits we inherit. Where debate has hardened into political certainties and conditioning urges us to react before we reflect, the gentle capacity to listen, to wonder, and to hold multiple possibilities softens into a rare and fragile skill. To be truly open now demands patience, courage, and the slow and sometimes painful work of unlearning, an intentional loosening of old patterns so curiosity can return and thought has more freedom to move. Inner work is the deliberate clearing of the old self, the steady dissolution of habits, stories, and wounds that are rooted in ego. It asks us to part with what must go and to hold space for and nurture what we always had but don't remember anymore. Our task is not to discover something new, but to recognize and claim something forgotten among the rubble of our old patterns, to nourish it with attention and courage, and to let it gather shape until it becomes the life we choose. We already have it in us to become who we long to be. What holds us back is not lack but habit. The conditioned mind, made of fear and habit and small overrated certainties, resists the unburdened mind that would steer us toward a more loving future. Our perspectives are mired by illusion, anxiety, and the old survival program, We cannot see the forest for the trees because fight or flight narrows attention to what preserves the old stories that we have been telling ourselves for thousands of years. To step forward, we must loosen those hardwired reflexes, widen our perspectives, and let curiosity and courage reclaim the space that fear has claimed for itself. Recently, a friend told me that they are not motivated anymore. They live their life, but they are not feeling any urge to decide on any course of action. It seems like they surrender to the chaos and are unfocused on anything anymore. This is a good thing, since surrendering to the universe and its evolutionary forces will guide them toward what they need to focus on. On the other hand, they don't realize that everything is already within them, and they resist change. There is no traditional effort required anymore, as the mind-based order is becoming a thing of the past, hailing the advent of the heart-based order. The only thing that's required of us is to feel calm while surrendering to the universe. Bashar, as channeled by Daryl Anka, said, "Circumstances don't matter, only state of being matters." I can't count how often that truth has steadied me against a world that felt hostile and unrelenting. So how can I convey the magic and beauty of what I have experienced during my journeys of the mind? How can I explain the sacredness of my experiences to my fellow humans who have never experienced unconditional love from all beings living on an alien planet? I am bowing my head in despair, for I cannot change others and literally show them what I have experienced. Others must resolve to experience themselves what I myself have experienced. This is something that cannot be taught, and there is no cheating possible like in high school. I feel like Ellie in the movie Contact, testifying before Congress, saying, "I had an experience. I can't prove it. I can't even explain it, but everything that I know as a human being, everything that I am, tells me that it was real. I was given something wonderful, something that changed me forever. A vision of the universe that tells us undeniably how tiny and insignificant and how rare and precious we all are. A vision that tells us that we belong to something that is greater than ourselves, that we are not, that none of us are alone." Considering all this, how would we really feel living in space with benevolent alien beings? And how would we feel if those beings were humanoid but with subtle differences? We are all used to Spock from Star Trek. As a member of the fictional Vulcan species, he has pointed ears that are reminiscent of elves from the books of Tolkien. I'm pretty sure that it would be easier for most humans to get along with an alien like Spock. If an alien's eyes, however, were twice ours, and its nose nearly flat, would we not first meet it with judgment and fear, resisting contact? The fear most of us may feel about something or someone that doesn't look like us is the result of feeling separated for thousands of years and the acute survival instinct keeping us from being anything but judgmental and cautious. Let's do a simple exercise using the mind. Imagine an alien, huge, curious eyes, a flat nose, long, slender limbs. Forget every story you've heard. Invent your own encounter. Alone together, how does your body respond when you sit with this stranger? Calm? Alarmed? Tender? First words. What would you say to reach across difference? Would you offer a drink? Would you ask a question? Would you be silent and wait for the other to begin a conversation? If it reads as male, what assumptions rise within you? Protectiveness, authority, ease of interaction. How do they shape your questions and tone? If it reads as female, what different biases appear? Warmth, objectification, deference. How do they alter the conversation? Notice the differences. Which responses come from the alien and which from your own learned patterns? Most humans are so biased toward each other. An alien encounter would only aggravate this bias because we would know that this being has not evolved on Earth, and by definition we don't know its intentions and, most importantly, its nature. This assumption causes us to be extra cautious. What if we chose to drop cautiousness and assumptions offered by the conditioned mind and rehearsed a new, different kind of interaction in our imagination that goes against everything we believe to see a different outcome? This time practice replying from curiosity rather than habit. Ask, listen, and let the encounter redraw your expectations instead of forcing it to confirm assumptions. Why should any relationship between humans and other beings from the stars be challenging? We need to work on purging our bias towards others. This is the surest path, to treat other beings with the dignity they deserve, regardless of origin, and crucially, to grant ourselves that same dignity. In doing so, we shed the chains that keep us prisoner of old patterns and free our evolution to move forward. If we were inspired by curiosity to be bold and adventurous, we might discover to our astonishment that aliens mirror us in ways that befit their advanced consciousness. Logic blended with emotion, guided by their own balanced passion for life. Strange gentleness that respects its human counterpart. A calm demeanor resulting from being born into a society that has never fostered a conditioned mind. A quiet clarity that asserts itself through the inherent joy of unlimited freedom. The web between all beings would make their hearts easier to reach than we would ever imagine, as their perceived strangeness is not an obstacle to communication, but an aspect of enablement viewed from another perspective. How many times have we been led astray by our assumptions, only to admit later that we were wrong? How often have we judged others, holding them to standards that never belonged to them? How often have we noticed ourselves failing to meet the same rules we casually impose on others? All this has to stop. It only takes a slight nudge from the heart to change perspective and try something new. It is never too late to change and open the door to honest dialogue, even if it trembles. No, we are not yet ready for open contact with advanced alien beings. Readiness begins inside us. How we prepare, how we strip away obsolete beliefs, how we loosen the ego's grip and attachments. how we learn to trust synchronicity, release the need to control, and practice humility. These are not just human lessons. They are the very qualities advanced alien beings live by. They already regard us as equals because they have been once where we are now. The work is for us to become worthy of that regard.